This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's community access radio station Plains FM 96.9 and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
Coming up next on Plains FM is Find Your Bliss.
Hello and welcome, beauties, to the Find Your Bliss radio show here on Plains FM every 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, coming to you to talk about all things spiritual, intuitive and metaphysical. So today on the Find Your Bliss radio show, folks, we're going to be talking about the 12 immutable laws of the universe. And to start with, what does immutable mean? Immutable means not able to be changed. So just like the law of gravity, and that we don't have any control or say over gravity, it just is. It is a law that is in place all the time. So are these 12 immutable laws. And why would we want to learn about them? Well, when we have a better understanding of these universal laws and how they play out in our life, it can actually give us a greater understanding of how to work with the laws so we can experience more harmony, more happiness, more bliss, and really have an understanding of how the universe works. And of course, when we do that and we apply this to our life, we can become a more powerful creator of our own reality. So I'm going to go through the laws and then I'm going to break them down one by one, because I appreciate there is 12 of them. So, it's some of them will take a little bit more time on, and some of them you may be familiar with already. Perhaps, probably the most commonly known one is probably the Law of Attraction through the book The Secret and the movie. That's gotten the most worldwide coverage from obviously having that awareness come up. But of course, people don't realize that there's 11 other laws, and if we really do need the bigger picture in terms of working with all of them, because they all fit in with each other. And when we work with all of them, we can, we really have the bigger picture in terms of what it is that we're looking to create in our life. So let's go through them. So the first law is the law of one mind, which is divine oneness, i.e. everything is the mind of source energy. Everything is the universe. We are one song. That's what universe means. Uni meaning one and verse meaning song, one song. So we are oneness. So everything is part of the universe. Everything is part of source energy. Everything is, some people might call it the mind of God. And let's just go through the rest of them, and then we'll talk more in depth about all of them. The next one is the law of vibration. So everything vibrates. Everything is energy. Everything is having is an energetic frequency. The law of action, we must take action to be able to create our lives. The law of correspondence, so this would be in particular to as on the earth plane, so in the heavens, as above, so below. The law of cause and effect, so you only keep what it is that you give. So this is, you reap what you sow. So what you put out, you will receive back again. The law of compensation, which is again, you are gifted through abundance, money, opportunities, resources. For every time you're in the energy of contribution, you will be compensated for that. The law of attraction, what you focus on expands, negative or positive. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy, which is that you can't change energy, you can't destroy energy, but you can shift it to a higher vibration. So everybody therefore has the opportunity to change their life. The law of relativity, which helps us to realize that, we're all going through challenges, tests, initiations, and your test and initiation is going to be unique to you. It's all relative as such. So your experience versus somebody else's. There's always somebody else who is having a worse experience, right? It's all relative. The law of polarity, which is we live in a polarized planet. So we have night and day, we have black and white, we have masculine and feminine. So there's an opposite as such. The law of rhythm, which is that the universe has certain rhythms, like we have a month, where the moon, etc. And the moon's phases, we have the seasons. So you would attribute that to there is a time for everything. There is a time to mourn, a time to be born, a time to die, etc. And the law of gender, of course, is we have masculine and feminine, and to create life, we need both masculine and feminine. So those are the 12 laws, but let's go into them in a little bit more depth so we can learn more about them and how they can actually be applied to our life and how they can be beneficial. So the law of divine oneness, the law of one mind as such, this is really that place where we realize that everything is connected through the divine. Everything, every sentient being on the planet has a soul, and through the soul energy, which is source energy, we are all connected. So when this makes a lot of sense when we start realizing when we do something harmful to somebody else, we are in fact harming ourselves, because we're all connected. So all judgment is self-judgment. When we're judging somebody else, what we're doing in some way is contracting or judging ourselves. So this can be a really profound law in terms of understanding what oneness is, right? How does one energy experience itself? It creates duality. So that's where, as a part of source energy, we come into a body. That's how we experience our duality, by being separate from the oneness, by having a body, excuse me, even though we're all still connected. And this is how we experience ourselves. This is how source energy experiences itself. So you're a spiritual being having a human experience for the evolution of consciousness. And when we start to recognize that the divine in me also acknowledges the divine in you, then we can help to even raise our consciousness even more. When we realize that every single human being that we come into contact with is essentially an extension of ourself, because we are all divine, it can really shift our perspective in terms of what it is to really love your neighbor. If you're being unkind, critical, judgmental, that affects everyone. So what you say, think, and do, it affects the universe and everyone else on the planet through this law. If you see somebody in a different country hurting or engaging in behaviors that's harmful, it can break your heart on the other side of the world, right? What we do impacts our neighbor. It impacts the collective, and it is impacting us. So this is where, through the law of the one mind, we really want to step into that space of being much more accountable for ourselves. Stepping into that place where we're going, what am I saying, doing, and thinking? Is it contributing to the harmony of the planet? Is it contributing to the evolution of consciousness? Am I choosing to be aware? If I am having contracted or, unpleasant feelings or thoughts towards somebody, what action steps am I taking to rectify that, to get back to the energy of expansion and love? And really starting to be much more aware and much more accountable of where we're placing our focus and our attention. So the law of one mind can be a real humdinger, right? In regards to going, wow, I need to take way more responsibility for where I'm experiencing contraction. And this is a big part of the spiritual process, the spiritual ascension process, is shifting away from the ego, rational, critical mind and moving into higher frequencies of love, spirit, and soul, where we actually go, even if somebody is hurting me, instead of actually taking it personally, I'm going to do the work of self-inquiry and go, what a reaction am I having to this? And what is this showing me about myself? And how can I learn? Is there part of me that's looking to be healed? Or am I able to see that the person who's being unkind is wounded themselves and that they're expressing their hurt? So what can I do in terms of helping to love them, helping them to shift to a greater level of awareness so they can actually choose more consciousness? And again, this is the path really of the spiritual seeker, the soul worker, the light worker, is to help people step into more consciousness and more awareness and know that there is a different way. It doesn't have to be us against them. We're all in this together. So really stepping into that space of what do I need to be accountable for? How can I get my inner world lined up where my interactions with the external world are loving and kind and making a positive impact? So well worth considering for the law of one mind. And again, you want to ask yourself, once you have this awareness, how does it change your perspective? If you're in traffic and you're yelling at somebody and you have the awareness that you're actually just yelling at yourself, like the energy that you're sending that person, it will boomerang back round through the law of cause and effect, right? So being more aware of the fact to love your neighbor as yourself, to see the divinity in others, to see pure source energy, and to love people so much that you are willing to only see their divinity. You're only willing to see that so it can come forth. Really stepping into that space. This is how we change the world pretty quickly, right? Okay, so the law of vibration. Everything in the universe moves and vibrates. And this is true of the physical world and also of our spiritual world. You would have heard the expression, I'm sure, everything is energy. Very common in spiritual realms to hear that expression. Everything is energy. Everything has a vibration. Again, at school, I remember paying attention once in science class, and they were talking about that, right? Talking about how fast the molecules in a piece of furniture or a liquid, how fast they are vibrating. So if something appears to be more solid, it is because they're vibrating at a higher frequency, right? They're vibrating faster. Whereas if something's more viscous or more fluid, then the energy between it, it's not vibrating at the same frequency. So realizing that your physical body is an oscillating field of energy. If you put it under a microscope and went to the nanoscopic level, it's mostly space and energy. So being very aware of that when you're interacting with other people, what's the energetic vibration? This is where we want to learn the frequency, the energy, the vibration of the universe. This is why we want to start to learn how to read energy. Walk into a room, what does the energy feel like? What's the energy like in your relationship with your partner? What's your energy like in your relationship with your parents? What's the energy like in your home? Have you had your house feng shuied so the energy feels good? We are very sensitive to energy as human beings, collectively, individually, in our own personal homes and spaces. So starting to take more awareness and ownership of that. If there is a law of vibration that is occurring all the time, it's immutable, it can't be changed, but recognizing that you can shift the energy to a higher vibration. You can't destroy it, you can't stop it, you can't cancel it, but you can shift it to a higher vibration. Then what does it take to start using this law and using your awareness to bring higher vibrational energy to each and every circumstance? Worth considering. Okay, so the next law is the law of action. And the law of action, I love this law because if you actually look it up in the dictionary, one of the definitions of power is the ability to take action. And I know often people would associate action as more of a masculine dominant trait, but to really understand that action is necessary in order for creation to occur. So you can use the analogy even of having a baby, right? Some kind of action needs to take place, right? A little bit of action needs to take place for a child to be created. The child needs to be nurtured, fed, loved, even and through the process of, becoming a fetus and being brought to life. There is an action that is occurring. There is intention that is taking place. So starting to get really aware that yes, you can create Zen in your life, but there's always an action that's required. And I think a lot of the times people, because they saw The Secret and they learned about the law of attraction, they thought, I can just sit here and use my mind and attract it. You need to take action to be able to bring your reality to life. This is the law of action. Again, it's immutable. It needs to take place for your creations to come to reality. And you think about it, even sitting down to meditate to get an idea is taking action. Going to meet somebody or follow your intuition or take some guidance from your higher self. There's going to be an action involved. It's going to involve picking up the telephone, making a phone call, reaching out to somebody, making a connection, having a conversation. Action is going to be involved when it comes to creating your reality. Being able to visualize it, being able to put energy towards it, being able to focus on it. So important. And I think a lot of people overlook this one and they struggle to get it assimilated within themselves. So maybe even looking at yourself, are you taking action steps towards your big dreams? We did Download Your Future Self a wee while ago, which was actually a 4-hour workshop that we did online. And a big part of that, right, was identifying what it is that you actually want. But then, of course, once you've identified it, it's like, okay, how can I break that down, reverse engineer it, and be in that space where I'm like, okay, this is actually what I want to create, and this is how I'm going to go about creating it, because I need to have action steps to have it come to reality. Now, of course, there's a big difference too, like I would talk about inspired action over just taking a regular rational mind action. Inspired action, you're going to get to your result a lot quicker because you're in the energy of inspiration, so it's a higher vibration. So the law of action, number 3, super important. Okay, so the law of correspondence, as above, so below. So light, vibration, and motion have their corresponding principles in the etheric realms or the heavenly realms, which I think I would really interpret this law as we're not alone on the earth plane, right? We have heavenly forces that are corresponding with what is occurring. We're not just like on a little blue ball out in the middle of, the universe all by our lonesome without any external guidance. The universe is observing. The universe is, we are part of a universal creation. So, and also too, that can be deeply comforting to know, right? We're not alone. We're being observed. We're being witnessed. There is a loving presence that is available to us that is looking to support us, but it's up to us to really initiate that relationship. We must seek for the universe. And the irony is when we do that, the universe seeks us right back. As above, so below, the law of correspondence. Okay, so the next law is the law of cause and effect. This is a super important law in terms of understanding that you reap what you sow. So the people who are prepared to show up and give, receive. The people who are prepared to show up and love will be loved. The people who are prepared to show up and do anything will be reciprocated in turn. For every action, there is a reaction or consequence. And this includes your thoughts and actions. And this is where you want to be really aware. Some people might call this the law of karma, right? Law of cause and effect, which is where if you put an energy out into the world, it will come back to you. So every time you forgive somebody, you'll be forgiven. Every time you can turn the other cheek, that will be done unto you. Every time you offer somebody something lovely will be offered to you. Every time you extend grace to somebody, grace will be extended to you. So really understanding that, especially in terms of looking at it the other way, which is every time you are unkind, that unkindness will boomerang back to you. Okay, so once upon a time in my life, there used to be quite a lot of conflict and arguments and things like that. I very, very seldom have conflict in my life now. I don't have arguments. I don't, it raises my blood pressure. I don't have that much conflict in my life. Every now and then there's always something that comes up. But, generally speaking, I'm not engaging in that kind of energy, and therefore it doesn't perpetuate itself in my reality. So maybe even checking in with yourself, what kind of tone do you use with your language? What thoughts are you having? Are you taking actions that are a little mean or unkind because you've felt hurt or victimized? Right? What does it take to break the chain? First, do no harm, but take no crap, right? So recognizing too, once you understand this law, which is a big one, in terms of your future happiness, you really want to get a handle on this now. You want to go, okay, I am realizing that there is this immutable law of cause and effect, law of karma, where every action that I take has a reaction or a consequence. Every thought I have or every action I take, it is going to bring that energy back to me. That makes you really want to love your neighbor even more. And can you see how these laws kind of layer upon each other? If we hurt another person, then we end up hurting ourselves. And again, through the law of cause and effect, maybe it doesn't come back in that moment, but it will come back. And this is often why we need to let go of control, and we need to actually let the universe do what it needs to do. Because oftentimes, right, people will be hurt by somebody's behavior. And then, we can go into a bit of ego and we can be like, that's not fair or it's not just. Don't worry about it. You know why? Because the universe will sort it out. It is not your job to exact revenge or plot against somebody. Your job is to let it go, keep yourself in a good vibration so you can start perpetuating good energy, good karma, rather than thinking that you need to control the process or do it because the universe isn't doing it. The universe will sort it out. You might not see it instantaneously, you might not see it at all, but the universe will take care of it for that person. So don't ever be invested in seeing somebody getting their just desserts. It will only drag you into a vibration that doesn't serve you. So again, remembering for every action, there is a reaction or a consequence. Remembering that includes your thoughts and your actions. So I hope you are finding these are falling into place for you folks. And again, looking at how they interact with each other. The law of oneness and then the law of cause and effect, that really takes you into a place where it's like, whoa, I want to be supersonically aware of what I'm saying to myself. What is the quality of my thoughts? Are they loving? Are they kind? I talked about this in the Intuitive Life Academy Facebook group. Last week we did a self-worth week. If you're interested, guys, go into the Facebook group. Just look up Intuitive Life Academy by Rebecca Davison on Facebook. Jump into the group. Go watch the videos. People had some really interesting eye-opening moments, right, in terms of understanding what their self-worth is. So go and check out the videos. It's all completely free in the group. There's worksheets in there to work through each day to help you understand what your self-worth is. It's all about that relationship with yourself. But one of the days we talked about specifically was your language. And one thing I did talk about, of course, is that your thoughts, 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, 80 to 90% of them are the same. We are habitual creatures. Right? We love to get into our routines and our habits, but are they good routines? Are you thinking 60,000 thoughts a day that are uplifting and inspiring and loving and kind? Or are you spending 60,000 thoughts a day being critical, mean, judgmental, and horrible, mostly to yourself? Because again, when you judge somebody else, you're just kicking yourself in the shins. When you yell at somebody else, you're energetically punching yourself in the butt. Why would you do that? Again, it's about going to the next level of awareness and going, oof, anytime I extend an unkindness to somebody else, I'm actually literally hurting myself. And we can be dismissive about this, right? Like, like I've literally laughed at myself before if I've gotten cranky with somebody when I'm driving, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just doing that to myself. So it curbs the impulse and the desire to extend that energy out to somebody else, which is so important, especially from the law of vibration. You see how it's all interconnected. If I have an awareness that my energy and my vibration is impacting the collective consciousness, then I'm going to take more responsibility for making sure that my vibe is kind, loving, high, bright, beautiful, welcoming, accessible, joyful. I'm going to do my best to show up in those energies, because I'm going to learn what it takes to do the inner work to get to that place where it's easy to maintain that vibration. I don't just think it's some kind of concept or illusion. I can actually experience it in my body. Okay, so the next law is the law of compensation. Now, Marianne Williamson even wrote a book about this, the law of divine compensation. I thoroughly recommend you check it out because it's all about this law. And the law of compensation, of course, is that you are divinely compensated, which ties in, you can see, with the law of cause and effect, with the law of vibration, with the law of divine oneness. What you are showing up as, you will receive back. From the Course in Miracles, it says you only lack what it is that you do not give. And you only keep what it is that you give away, which your mind goes, what are you talking about? You only keep what it is that you give away. You think about it. If you give away money, time, energy, resources, that is what you get gifted. So your deeds are compensated with abundance, gifts, money, blessings, friendships, relationships, opportunities, resources. So the more you give, the more you get. What's that saying? Givers gain. If you want to be a good receiver in life, you want to learn what it is to give so you can receive. And be prepared to give first. Be prepared to give without any expectations, right? Like true spiritual giving is giving knowing that you might never get anything back from that person, but you do it willingly and joyfully anyway, because you understand the law of divine compensation, which is if you give to that person, you will receive back again. It might not be from that person. That's your ego assigning attachment to it and going, it has to come back from that person. No, it doesn't. Any gift of love never goes unnoticed by the universe. The universe is always watching. The universe is always feeling and checking your vibration. Your universe knows how expanded you are. The universe knows what you're up to. Whether you're aware of that or not, from the universe's perspective, it sees it all. It knows it all. It is it all. So, you can't separate out from who you are. You just lose the illusion of what you are not. Most people walk around not realizing at all how powerful they are because they don't have that level of awareness and consciousness. Does that mean that they're not powerful because they're not aware of it? It's kind of like the chicken and the egg, isn't it? It's like, well, no, the power's still there. Their energy's still there. It's still available to them. But they have to kind of release the separation that separates them out from knowing that, from experiencing that, and from it not just being a concept, but actually a physical experience, an embodiment of who they really are. Okay, cool. So that was the law of divine compensation. The next one, of course, is the law of attraction. So our thoughts, feelings, words create energy, which attracts energy to us. Can you again see how all these laws, folks, are kind of interlinked? Like they layer on each other. You could literally stack them all up. They're like cards in a deck. So what we focus on expands. And this rule is impartial, right? So if you focus on the negative, that's what you'll get. If you focus on the positive, that's what you'll get. Which is why if you follow, channeled spirit like Abraham Hicks through Esther Hicks, Abraham is constantly talking about your need, want, or desire to shift your energy or to put yourself in the energy, the vortex of positive vibration, because this is how you create your reality. What you focus on expands. So if you send your energy and attention to thoughts, feelings, or actions that are negative, you will create more of that. And I know this is often really confronting and hard for people if they're experiencing depression or sadness. They can beat themselves up and go, oh my goodness, I'm creating this as a reality. It's not about denying your feelings. It's about feeling your feelings and then maybe questioning the belief of where the feeling originated from. It's about asking yourself, what does it take to feel good, and how can I put myself in a great vibration? If you have a choice to feel neutral or to feel amazing, why wouldn't you choose to feel amazing? You want to look at it from a lot of different ways so your mind can really start to make sense of it. And then you can start to make your own choices, right? Like if at the end of the day, life is just a dream or it's all just a beautiful game, would I prefer to have played the game and really enjoyed it and feel good and happy? Or would I have preferred to have played the game and felt miserable? And I know a lot of people would go, but I don't have a choice in that matter. You absolutely do. You can change your thoughts and therefore change the way you feel at any given moment. So I want you to, and you might be sitting there going, oh, that's not true, or I can't do it. It's not that that's true. It's just that that's not your reality yet. Yet being the operative word. So I want you to think about this. If you're miserable, start expressing gratitude. You can't be in the energy of being miserable and grateful at the same time. You can have one or the other. So therefore you have to understand, if you are feeling miserable, it's a choice. And again, for a lot of people, this is really tricky because it comes back to thinking that they don't have a choice when it comes to their emotions. This is when we start to separate out and realize that we are the observer of our thoughts. We are not our thoughts. We are the observer of them. So if we're the observer of them, we can interrupt them. We can break the pattern. We can start asking ourselves another question. We can say to ourselves, is this true? We can say to ourselves, do I want to think this? We can say to ourselves, is there another thought that I can think right now that would actually be better than this? This is how we start activating our power of choice and really being in that space and energy of understanding who we really are. We are way more powerful than our own mind. You have your mind, you have your subconscious, and you have your superconscious. And what you really want to do to get free and clear is start using your mind to ask questions, to open up energy so you can start accessing higher frequencies of energy to be able to go into your subconscious and bring that to the light. And then use that superconscious energy to flood through everything in your subconscious and literally raise your vibration. One of the best analogies I've ever heard is that your subconscious is kind of like all the filing cabinets. And you think about it, folks. If your filing cabinets are all in alphabetical order and they're all tidy and everything's filed in the right place, opening a filing cabinet can be a joy. Right? But often for people, their subconscious looks like a mess, right? That their office and their subconscious, there's papers everywhere, filing cabinets are overfull, nothing's in the right order, you have no idea where anything is, because this is because your subconscious remembers everything, but it also assigns meaning to those things that have occurred in the past. And that's why we want to use our mind and our awareness to start accessing the most powerful part of ourselves, our superconsciousness, to be able to go into the subconscious and clear it up. You don't want to go in from the rational mind because that's not powerful enough. We all know that the subconscious is way more powerful than the rational mind. It drives your behaviors. It drives every decision that you make. That's why we need to go to a bigger frequency of energy. And again, realizing that suffering is created from too limited a view. You need to go super conscious. You need to go into your own divinity. You need to go into your relationship with the divine, because it's a wider perspective. It's a much bigger paradigm. If you think of the universe, think of how vast it is. That is the power that is available to you. That more expanded energy and frequency, and therefore perspective. So when it comes to the law of attraction, asking yourself, how is my attraction going? Am I attracting things easily and effortlessly? Am I in good attraction energy? Have I created a positive vortex in my reality where good things happen to me? Where all good things continue to happen to me? Starting to ask yourself these questions is really important, especially when it comes to the law of attraction. I think a lot of the time too, people give themselves a hard time when they start learning about the law of attraction and thinking, oh, if I have a bad thought, then I'm going to attract more bad things into my life. No, this is predominantly speaking. So if you're having 10% of your thought process is not so great and 90% is awesome, you're pretty much all good, right? You have an awareness of where, the energy is not good. But if you're living in life is awful, life is terrible, people are awful, I don't like people, I hate dogs, I hate spiders, I hate life, I hate money, I hate my job. Do you know what I mean? Predominantly speaking, that's not going to create a great reality. There's wiggle room, which is why when we think of something, it doesn't just instantaneously turn up for us. There is an element of time involved to really help us to knuckle down into our creator ability. So really starting to be aware of that. What is the predominant energy of your thoughts, feelings, and words? Are you using words like love and fun and joy and delight and bliss? Why? Because it's not just including it in your vocabulary, it's saying it out loud. When you speak a word out loud, it has a vibration. That vibration runs through your body. It runs through your energy field. It runs through the law of vibration. It goes out into the universe. It creates more of that coming back to you. I would definitely encourage you to try that. If you had any idea how powerful your words were, you would do an audit immediately. Alrighty, so moving on to the next law, which is the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. So what this essentially means is that everybody has the ability and power to change their life, and that you can shift a lower vibration into a higher one, right? You have the ability to do that. So higher vibrations transmute and absorb lower ones. Now, this is essentially, we do a lot of this in my program, Intuitive Mastery. We do a lot of what we call energy clearing, right? We clear the frequency of the energy by shifting it to a higher vibration. And this is about going back into the past and looking at all those times and places which you have stored into your subconscious, going back into all those times and places and looking at where we had a charge of energy. Right? Maybe it was when you were 9 years old and mum didn't come to the swimming sports because she got delayed, something happened, she couldn't make it, and you felt devastated. So you made a decision about that in terms of your own self-worth, and it is literally impacting your ability to create more money, love, support, wealth in your current lifetime. So we go back to moments like that, and we can't change what happened, but we can change the energy of it. And this is the law of perpetual transmutation. We can perpetually, because life is a continuum, transmute energy. We can always ask the energy to be in a higher vibration no matter what. Why? Because the universe is always expanding. The universe is constantly expanding, and so should we, right? If we want to be in our ultimate full potential self-actualized self, we will continue to grow, expand in alignment with the universe. And again, we do this a lot in Intuitive Mastery. We shift the energy to a higher vibration, and we teach people how to shift the energy for themselves. So it's a skill set that you have for life. Okay, so moving on. The law of relativity. So everyone experiences tests and challenges to strengthen the truth of who they are, to help people remember their true power. Because often people will come to me and they'll be like, oh, I've got this awful thing happening in my life. And I'm like, oh, yay, that's awesome. And they're like, what are you talking about? This is terrible. And I'm like, no, this is awesome because you're being tested. You have a challenge. You're going to have a breakthrough. You're going to learn more about yourself. Your energy is in the process of expanding. This is amazing. Because again, it's about teaching you about perspective. And again, no matter how bad we believe we have it, it's all relative. There's always somebody else who's having a harder time. There's always somebody else who's having a better time, right? It's about perspective. So it's about going, okay, What's going to take for me to know that my challenges and my tests are unique, and that it's safe, right, and good for me to be aware that everybody else is having their own, and that's all good, right? That's the way that it's supposed to be, because my challenges are for me, other people's challenges are for them. Because often too, right, we talk about perspective, but this one probably comes back a little bit to comparison. You might look at somebody else's life and go, well, they've got it easy, and have no idea of the crap that they've been through to get to that place where they're really happy. And if you knew, then you would never begrudge them their happiness, because you're like, whoa, wow, they've been through so much. I have so much more respect for them. But it's just a matter of awareness and knowing that about them. Maybe you just don't know that about them right now. Maybe you look at their life and think that it's amazing, but you've had no idea of their hardships or their background or what they've had to overcome to get there. So, and it's easy to go into comparison, especially with people that we don't know, because we don't have the full picture. We don't know what's going to happen to them in the future. We don't know what's happened to them in the past. It's all relative. So keeping your eyes on your own path, your own journey, and your own experience, and knowing that the universe is orchestrating it perfectly for you. Alrighty? Okay, and the next one is the Law of Polarity, where everything's on a continuum and has an opposite. Again, the Law of Polarity. We can evaporate negativity by focusing on the positive, which Abraham Hicks talks about, that you have a choice. That in the moment you think about it, if you are not focusing on negativity and you're focusing on being positive, then the negativity ceases to exist in that moment in your reality. Okay, I'm going to say that again, because a lot of people might be like, what? If you cease to focus on the negative, right? You say you're having a negative thought, and then you manage to shift your focus onto something positive, that negative energy ceases to exist. It is literally not part of your reality in that moment, because you have shifted your focus. And that might seem really simple and really straightforward, but really kind of let that drop in on a really deep level, because it's so profound when you actually realize that you have the power to shift and create that. You have the power in any given moment to have your energy flow in a direction that you want it to go. But the Law of Polarity, of course, reflects the fact that we live in a polarized planet. We have light and we have dark. We have day and we have night. We have male, we have female. We have opposites. You know, you can have masculine energy that has a light side and a dark side. You can have feminine energy that has a light side and a dark side. You can look at money and go, it has a light side and a dark side. You can look at sexuality and go, it has a light side and a dark side. But also too, right, we want to be aware and embody both. You know, polarity, in a way, you could look at that as duality, being we are separate from the universe. You know, we have spirit and we have a body. So knowing that they're as above, so below, right? There's always a corresponding and opposite. Polarity is really important to be aware of too when it comes to creating attraction between masculine and feminine, because that's how we are made, right? We are made with masculine and feminine energy within us, but we also, you know, through the law of gender, which is the last law, you know, that we have masculine and feminine, that for attraction, sexual attraction to be created, it's always between masculine and feminine energies. Now, this doesn't matter if you're in a same-sex relationship or not. You will still have masculine and feminine within partner 1 and partner 2. Okay, so being aware of that, right? If you really want that sexual energy to be cranking in your relationships, you'll be aware of where the masculine energy is and where the feminine energy is. And that can be different for both people, right? You can have a female who's in her masculine energy and a male who's in his feminine. And you can have it vice versa, like a man who's in his masculine energy and a woman who's in her feminine. But being aware of where the energy is at any given moment really helps to create awareness in terms of attraction. And it makes sense too, right? Like, of course, those two things are going to be, those two opposites, right, are attracted to each other. Okay, and the law of rhythm. Everything moves and vibrates to a certain rhythm, right? And never more so is this true than when it comes to the seasons, or it comes to, monthly cycles, how the moon goes through its transition every month, right? Or thereabouts. So everything happens, seasons, cycles, patterns. If you look into nature, you'll start seeing like the Fibonacci sequence, which is the pattern of energy that pretty much like a fractal pattern. For example, the body renews itself every 7 years. All the cells in the body are replaced, and goes back to that expression, of course, for everything there is a season. There's a time to be born and a time to die, a time to move forward and a time to come back. And it can be really beneficial to work with the seasons. Obviously summer is a season of being out and about in the sunshine. Spring is the energy of new growth. Autumn is the energy of starting to move into something that's more restful. And winter, of course, is the energy of rest, hibernation, and being cozy with big fluffy socks on in front of the fire. But recognizing the law of rhythm, that nothing is happening from a place of complete chaos. We still, there is chaos theory. We can go into that some other time. But being in that space, right, of understanding that there is a rhythm, there is a cycle, there is a pattern, that, at a certain stage in your life, things might not be making sense, but at another stage in your life, all of those things can start coming together in a way that you couldn't even begin to imagine. Right, so trusting in timing, trusting in the patterns, trusting that the universe is operating at a much higher level of awareness and intelligence even than our rational minds, and having the faith that it's unfolding that way. If we align with ourselves, with the patterns, with the cycles, with the seasons, with stages of development, we can really do ourselves a favor in terms of coming into alignment and awareness with the law of rhythm. Okay, and so the very last law that we have is the law of gender, which is life has masculine and feminine, right? We don't have 3 sexes, we don't have 5 sexes, we just have 2. We have masculine and feminine, and we need both of those to exist, right? We can't move forward in life with just the feminine. We can't move forward in life with just the masculine. We need both the masculine and feminine, the yin and the yang, to be able to create life. So being aware of the law of gender, and also too, of course, right, we even have those masculine and feminine energies within ourselves. And even starting to look, that's one thing I do a lot of in my work, right, is help people to balance the masculine and feminine within themselves. Does your feminine energy need to be more open? Does your masculine energy need to be a little softer? Does your masculine energy need more power, more spark? Does your feminine energy need more rest or receptivity? Really for us to be in balance, we need to embody those inequalities of what it means to be in our divine feminine and our divine masculine, and working with who we are. It's a wonderful way of getting to know ourselves on a deeper level. If you're a female entrepreneur, you need to be very much in alignment with your own masculine energy to get things done, to be the powerful part of you that can go out into the world. And again, often again, we can come back to the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, because this is where we start to bring it all together and go, well, if I want to be an entrepreneur, but I'm fearful of putting myself out there, am I actually in that space where, maybe I have some wounded masculine energy within me? Maybe I have had partners in the past where I felt that I haven't been able to trust them. Maybe there's some wounding in the relationship with your father or uncle or grandfather. Starting to explore that, and then bring this perpetual transmutation of energy to the fore, and using that universal law to shift the vibration so it is easier to go out into the universe, out into the world, and share your gifts, skills, and talents with others, because you've healed that part of yourself that was looking to have that experience. So that is the 12 laws of the universe, folks, the 12 immutable laws. I would love to hear your comments and feedback on this if you found it beneficial. You can either leave a review on the podcast on iTunes by going to iTunes and searching for Find Your Bliss. There's a pic of me where my hair was a little longer. Love for you to leave a review. That helps other people to find the podcast. That would be very much appreciated. I'd love for you to share with me what it is that you want to hear on the Find Your Bliss radio show and how I can help you in terms of your own spiritual development, what it means to you to really ascend. Because sometimes, we are being led by an inner knowing. So you may have found some of these universal laws really beneficial in regards to going, oh my goodness, right? There's actually a universal law for that. It might have been a situation where you were feeling it or experiencing it or knowing it on some level. But now having the understanding of the law and how the law works. The law meaning, of course, like it's a law, right? You can't change it. It's there for a reason. It's there for a purpose. It's there to support you. It's there to create structure. And just, again, going through them all. So the law of one mind, right? The law of that divine one mind. The law of vibration. Everything is energy. The law of action. You have to take action to make your life be awesome. The law of correspondence. As above, so below. You are being universally supported by unseen forces. Right? You are a spiritual being in a body, right? A duality. You're here on earth, but you are also connected to the heavenly realms. The law of cause and effect, right? For every action, there is a reaction and a consequence. Law of divine compensation. You are compensated, right? Your deeds are compensated with abundance, gifts, monies, blessings, friendships, which makes you realize every time you do something and you go into contraction about it, right? You are kind of denying yourself a win-win situation. What would it take to show up and give freely, give knowing that you will be compensated and it will come back to you in some way, shape or form. It doesn't need to be in the way your mind needs it to be. It will just come back energetically. So every time you show up to do the dishes, mow the lawn, do something, know that if you are willing, if you show up from that place of willingness, if you do it cheerfully, if you do it with enthusiasm, all of that energy will come back to you. Super important law. Law of attraction, as we know, what you focus on expands, works for the negative and the positive, realizing that you have a choice. Your thoughts, feelings, and words create an energy which attracts like energy to you. Law of perpetual transmutation of energy, you have the power to change your life. You can shift energy in a heartbeat to a higher vibration. Law of relativity, everybody experiences tests and challenges. It is unique to that person. It is divinely guided by their own soul. So let's not make comparisons. Let's not go into who's the bigger victim. Let's go into the energy of, my gifts, skills, and talents are being nurtured and created through these tests and initiations. So I'm grateful for the universe and the tests and challenges that I've had because it makes me unique. The law of polarity, everything's on a continuum and has an opposite. So light and dark, night and day. We live in a polarized planet. Law of rhythm, for everything there is a season. We have season cycles, patterns, and stages of development. Recognizing that even if something doesn't make sense now for you, it definitely will in the future. Everything comes to pass. And the law of gender, life has a masculine and a feminine, and we need both to exist. So folks, if you've enjoyed this, do feel free to go to my website too. I also always offer a wee free gift there, which is rebeccadavison.life. If you're interested in jumping into your future self, I have a wee guided meditation there where you can actually go beyond the realms of your rational critical mind and start accessing the higher parts of yourself, higher frequency, to help you create a life that you really love. Right? Once you know what it is to move beyond your own ego into the world of spirit and start using those frequencies to interact with in your day-to-day life, Life becomes very blissful, magical, and joyful. And you can use the meditation to show you what is possible. Really powerful, lots of fun. Everybody enjoys it. So go and check that out by going to the website, signing up for my email list and downloading that and telling me, send me a note and say, how was it? Or come into the Facebook group. We have an amazing tribe over there. Beautiful bunch of amazingly supportive, engaged, loving people. So if you want to join a tribe of people who want to develop their intuition, who are happy to be activating their gifts and skills and talents and knowing that they are unique to yourself, and your relationship with source energy is beautiful, unique, individual, and divine, then please do come and join us. I'm in there pretty much every day supporting people in terms of choosing their highest potential. So folks, as always, it's a pleasure and a privilege to connect with you. Thank you so much too for everybody who's been so kind and lovely, especially recently. I have had a unwell dad, so I do very much appreciate the love and support that has been extended to me by everybody. I'm sending you all so much love and many, many blessings, and I'll look forward to connecting with you guys again next week. So lots of love, folks. You have a good week. Take good care of yourself. I hope you're enjoying the transition into moving into, if you're in New Zealand at least, level 2 and what that looks like for you. But now more than ever, it's really time to start accessing our inner world and getting right by us so we can go out into the world and do good things. All right, folks, I'm sending you so much love and many, many blessings. Lots of love. Bye for now. Bye.